Welcome to the Communication Diva podcast, episode 144. On this episode of the podcast, 7 mistakes that will derail your goals. And don't worry, if you manage not to make those 7 mistakes, you can still find plenty of other ways to derail your goals. I have.
Hey, this is Jen, and welcome to the Communication Diva podcast, the show that helps you to get the job, to love your work, and to advance your career. Lots going on here over at Communication Diva. I'm getting ready for the opening of our interview course, How to Ace a Job Interview When You Haven't Interviewed in a Long Time. And that's coming October 9th to the 15th, 2017. And that's just open for 1 week. So if you know someone, or if you yourself is looking for work or want to change jobs or are getting ready for an interview, check out this course. What it'll do is it will get you ready to rock fast. You will be completely prepared for your next interview after taking this course. We've had lots of success stories of people who have taken the course and felt really ready and then have let us know that they got a job afterwards, so we know it works. We don't guarantee, of course, that you'll get the job, but you will be so much more prepared than almost every other candidate, and you'll have a fantastic chance at that job that you want. And it's quite a comprehensive course, but it doesn't take that long to go through it. So check it out on our courses page at courses.communicationdiva.com and find out more. You can watch the first few videos, you can see the reviews, you can see all of the curriculum there and everything that we cover in the course. So that's courses.communicationdiva.com. Okay, so today I want to talk to you about 7 mistakes that will derail your goals. Now, I feel like I've talked a lot about goal setting and the importance of setting goals. I noticed that I haven't done a podcast just dedicated to that, but I think once upon a time I did a blog post over at communicationdiva.com on SMART goals, on setting goals. I know I've done that somewhere, and I'm trying to remember if that was on my own blog or if that was a guest post, because I do that sometimes. However, I have talked about goal setting in a number of podcast episodes and how important setting goals actually is. And I was doing a lunch and learn workshop yesterday about goals, and I was facilitating this, and I continue to be amazed at how so few people actually practice setting tangible goals. So few people seem to write them down and make them real. And I had a room of about 45 people yesterday that I was speaking to, and maybe 2 or 3 raised their hands when I asked if they had written down goals or set goals in some tangible way. So clearly it's something people could use some coaching in because it's so effective. And setting goals is the first step in getting somewhere if there are things that you would like to accomplish. So if you're in the category of having never done it, or you want a refresher, you want to remember how, I talk about it in several podcast episodes, episode 79, episode 100, episode 114, episode 142 and 143. The last 2 also talk about goal setting in a more general way. So take a listen to those if you missed them or if you want a refresher. All right, so these 7 mistakes often appear when you decide to do something, when you set a goal, you think up a goal, you think about, hey, I want to do that, or I'd like to have that, whatever your goal happens to be, whether it's a career goal or a personal goal, relationship goal, a dietary goal, a financial goal, a fitness goal, whatever it is. These are some of the mistakes that get made that end up derailing the goal so it doesn't happen, which is sad. So let's go through these 7 things. There are more. These are 7 that seem to be most prevalent. And then let's see how you can avoid or counteract making them. And I'll do that as I go through each one. So the first one is talking yourself out of it before you even begin. For some people, the first thought that arises as soon as they make a goal is the first set of thoughts are negative ones. Reasons why this wild idea will never work. What considerations need to be made, why the goal won't work in multiple ways. You know, that little negative voice that gets into your head and gets on a roll, and the next thing you know, you're back to no goal because you've just talked yourself out of it. Has this ever happened to you? And what can you do about it? What can you do about it? Because those little voices come up. That doubt, that negativity happens. Well, I say sleep on it, first of all. Take some time. You don't have to rush into it. Think it out. Sleep on it. Talk to people about it. Test it out a little bit. Acknowledge that if you are instantly doubting your goal, that maybe you need to allow yourself not to move forward or backward on the idea until you've given it some more time to percolate. You've explored it a little bit more. If there's still a lot of doubt the next day or after a little bit of time, then perhaps you need to trust your gut, to trust your intuition, and do some more in-depth exploration of the pros and cons, of what kind of things you need to put in place to make this goal happen, etc. Take your time with it. It might be that some of the other mistakes are taking over that we're going to talk about, or it might just be that you need to grow into this idea. So the talking yourself out of it is the first mistake, because sometimes that happens right away. And it's only in retrospect that you regret, wow, I should have explored that more. I should have thought about that more. I could have done that. You don't want to be there. So take the time that you need to really make the decision about whether or not you want to proceed with this goal once you dream it up. Okay, number 2 is the mistake that might derail your goal is a lack of clarity. Goals need to be SMART ones, and you may have heard of SMART goals before. It's an acronym, and it stands for this. S stands for specific, a specific goal. It can't be a vague general goal like I'd like to be wealthy one day, or, I want to have lots of X, whatever X is. That's very general, and you won't be able to know when you get there and when you become successful if you haven't been very specific about it. So get specific. S of the word SMART means specific. M means measurable. So again, measure it. If you say you want to be wealthy, you want to retire wealthy, for example, what does wealthy mean? What is the measurement there? What is a number? Actually figure out what number you're aiming for. If you want to have a new car next year, what kind of car? How much is that car going to cost? And exactly what are all the fees and associated costs with getting insurance and all the rest of it? Write it down. Get an actual measurable number and write it down. So that's M is measurable. A is achievable or attainable. Different people call it different things. Is this goal attainable? Can you actually do it in the circumstance that you're in? Are you able to actually do it? The goals that are, this comes along with the next letter, R, for realistic. If you want to be famous, well, what does that mean, first of all? And is it realistic if that happens to be one of your goals? I've got teenagers in the house, so sometimes that's that people, we talk about that, how some people have that as one of their goals. It's interesting. So that's SMAR, and then T is timely. Give yourself a time frame. When are you going to want this goal to have been achieved? Write down a time. So if you set your goals measuring with this acronym, specific, measurable, achievable or attainable, realistic and timely. What's the time frame? If you do that, then you've created a goal that is worth going forward and exploring. Then you need to write it down. Write it out in full. Just the act of writing it down makes it real, makes it clear, and makes you even accountable to it if you tell someone about it. So if you tell a loved one about it, somebody you trust, if you post it all over social media, if you tell it to someone, you talk about fitness goals, and sometimes they will get you to write down a specific number that you're aiming for. Or I just was taking part in a sticker challenge goal at my gym, and you have to come up with a goal of how many times you will go to the gym in a month. So and the minimum is 12. So 12 times is the minimum, and then you can set your goals after that. And I've completely blown my sticker challenge this month. I've reached it before in the past, but I've blown it this month because I was off sick last week. So my 15 times, so every other day, this month didn't happen. I think I'll end up managing maybe 10 times, but the 15 is not a goal that I will have reached, but I'm not too broken up about that because I really needed the rest and to look after myself last week, and you can probably still hear it in my voice. So if you have a lack of clarity, which is the second mistake, there are ways to get more clear. Make sure that you are writing it down with all of those parameters, SMART goals, and then tell someone about it. Tell somebody about it close to you, tell one other person about it, or tell a whole bunch of people about it, whatever you want to do. But then you become accountable. And once you do this, you are clear with what your goal is, you're accountable, and you're more likely to succeed. So that's number 2. Number 3, the third mistake is that fear takes over. Fear of failure or fear of success. Fear of all the energy it will take to make the goal happen. I'm very familiar with that one. Fear of being laughed at or at being discouraged by others. Fear of criticism. Fear is powerful, and it prevents us from doing a lot of things if we let it control and take over. Now, if the goal is a good one, if you believe it's a SMART goal, my advice is to feel the fear and do it anyway. I'm afraid of lots of things. I am thrilled that so many people, and I don't know what it is this month, and I said this last week too, I don't know what it is, but so many people have been listening to the podcast. This month has been utterly amazing. And now because of it, I feel that much more accountable and a little bit afraid of making sure that I've got really good content for you, because a stadium full of people is listening. And if a stadium full of people is tuning in to listen every month, then I better be producing great content, right? So fear is a great motivator, and it doesn't necessarily mean fear of failure. It can be fear of success too. So feel the fear and do it anyway. Fear is a great motivator. And if your goal is solid, then go for it. Number 4 is the mistake of reviewing your track record over and over again. And what I mean is your track record of failures. So if you have set a goal or goals that have failed in the past, you might allow those memories and experiences to influence you negatively. I failed before. What makes me think that I can do this time? I'm just going to fail again, so why bother? Right? Well, you can listen to that, or you can realize something. You can realize that with time and experience, we all grow and we learn and we change. And so how can you know automatically that you will fail this time? Are all the circumstances in your life exactly the same as they were the last time you tried this, or has something changed? Has something shifted that made you think about this goal in the first place? How can you know for sure that you're going to fail again? I mean, maybe you're setting yourself up to do that. Maybe you actually don't want to complete this goal. And you won't complete this goal if you don't stretch and risk and try and persevere. You know, how many successful people have failed repeatedly before they finally reached their goals? Well, I can tell you pretty much everyone. Pretty much every single successful person that you know, whether they're famous or not, could just be a successful person in your life, has a litany of failure behind them. And they might just be small things. They might be big things. But success is built on top of a big pile of fails. And that is how we learn. And that's not a good enough excuse to stop you and to derail your goals, unless you want it to go, unless you want it to be. So the mistake of going over and over and over again what happened to you in the past is a mistake that lots of us fall into, but is not a really valid excuse or reason to not try again. People who are learning to do something, you want to learn an instrument, you want to speak a language, anything that you're trying to learn, you're going to fail at over and over and over again until you can play that sonata beautifully without making any mistakes. But how many times did you have to start and stop and start and stop and do it again, right? So it's not really helpful to rehash that over and over and over again in your mind if this is a goal that you really, really want to achieve. So don't let the track record stop you if this is a valid goal that you actually want to attain. All right, I still have 3 left to go, but first I want to tell you about how you can support Communication Diva and contribute to the work I'm doing here if you want to, and if you think what I'm doing is of value to you. If you have enjoyed the content over the past 5 years and have found it to be useful and helpful and entertaining and valuable, then you can come on board as a patron. And there are 5 different levels that you can do that at. Everything from $1 a month, which is like a tip jar, and that's what that level is called. $5 a month, which is the cost of a latte, all the way up to the equivalent of a dinner out a month. And each of these levels of patronage comes with rewards and perks that get better and better the higher the level. And I want to thank my very first sponsor today. I want to thank Elizabeth Seville Savage, who has come into the Coffee Crew level. Welcome aboard. I really, really appreciate it. So to find out more and to watch the video and see all the different ways and the different levels you can help support the podcast and what I'm doing here, you can visit my Patreon page. Patreon is sort of like patron with an E thrown in there, Patreon. And my Patreon page is at patreon.com/communication diva. So that's patreon.com/communication diva. So thank you. And again, I'm if you don't or you can't, I don't feel guilty about it. Don't worry about it. It's not about that. It's just if you would like to support and join in the patronage of Communication Diva, you're more than welcome, and absolutely no pressure. I'm thanking you for just being here and listening and sharing this show with your friends. The more people I can help, the happier I will be and my goals will be reached. Okay, let's continue with our 7 mistakes that will derail your goals. So far, we have looked at talking yourself out of it, at having a lack of clarity, so not being focused and not using the SMART goal. That can be a mistake. So make sure you're using the SMART goal system to make sure your goal is solid. The fear of taking taking over. that's a mistake, is allowing fear to take over and derail you. Reviewing your track record of past failures, that's a mistake as well. This is a new day, a new time, a new opportunity, and so it's not the greatest, wisest thing to base this opportunity on a different one that maybe didn't work out so well in the past. So now let's look at number 5. Number 5 is having too many goals to be able to focus. Sometimes ideas for goals come in bunches, and then your laser focus that I talked about a couple of shows ago gets watered down. It's one thing if the goals are successive. If it's one goal after another, that's fine because you can still work on one at a time. But if you have several goals that you're trying to accomplish or work on all at once, your energy can get spread too thin and your focus can get scattered, and then you're not getting anywhere fast on any of the goals. So try to prioritize and choose one or two if you must, but pretty much start with one, whichever one is the most important, and focus your time and your energy and your money on that one first. Slow down and get serious and reach a goal before you move on so that you can feel success, so that you can feel satisfaction and accomplishment. You know, it's one thing to set a bunch of goals, but if you've never ever reached any of them, you're pretty soon going to get discouraged. So pick one that you know that you can achieve. That's the A in the SMART goals: achievable, attainable, and attain it, and then move forward. So that, and you might have to take a big goal and break it up into little steps so that you feel that success, because there's nothing like feeling a win to spur you on to accomplishing the next thing. So you might have to take a big goal and break it down into something much smaller and much more easily achieved. Number 6, a mistake that derails goals. Obstacles arise. Sometimes real roadblocks happen in your goal plan. You're cruising along and up ahead suddenly appears a roadblock and there's not much you can do except retreat or go around it or go over it. So what happens when something stops your fabulous trajectory? Well, of course, it depends on what it is, but obstacles can be overcome often with a little patience, with a little ingenuity, with a little creativity, and sometimes with help. So ask for help if you need it. Present your roadblock or your problem, your obstacle with your goal to a trusted confidant, to a professional who can help you, to a good friend, to a loved one, and maybe 2 heads are better than 1 here, maybe 3 heads, maybe you've got a group of people that you can present it to. We've got a private Facebook group at Communication Diva, the Diva community. You know, come on over and present your obstacle there and we'll help you out. So find a group that you can speak to or a person that you can speak to and see if someone can come up with a creative solution that you maybe can't see because that roadblock is too big and is looming too much in your view and you're unable to see around it. So whatever it is, and how to get around it might take time, but sometimes these obstacles are actually the best things that ever happened when you look back on this time years later in hindsight. Sometimes it's like, yes, thank goodness that happened, because then this happened, then this happened, then this happened, and here I am today. So lots of people have stories like that began as what appeared to be a horrible block in a goal trajectory. So think about that too. Keep that in mind. This is an obstacle and a big problem right now, but it might be the best thing that ever happened later on. You never know. So try and maintain a positive outlook and look for solutions, look for collaborations, look for people or situations that might be able to solve it or help come up with ideas with you, to collaborate with you and get you through and around and over the obstacle. The 7th mistake that could derail your goal is being a perfectionist. Now, I suffer from this, but I am learning with age and experience that done is better than perfect, and that sometimes waiting or fussing too much about whatever it is I'm trying to do is actually a form of self-sabotage and can actually derail what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. So let me think of an example here. Have you ever wanted to do something and then spent absolutely forever researching it or learning about it and taking courses and talking about it to everyone you meet until everyone is sick of hearing you talk about it? And then in the meantime, you've done absolutely nothing toward making it happen. Has this happened to you? If this is you, you might be a perfectionist. You might be worried that what you might eventually do or produce or accomplish won't be perfect, or at least won't meet your own high standards. I know lots of people who have not started teaching online because they're trying to get it absolutely perfect, or who have not started their podcast because they're spending so much time learning everything they possibly can learn about it that they're afraid to start because it won't be perfect. Or, there's lots of examples of that. People that are afraid to do things because the time is just absolutely not right. So you might be a perfectionist, and you might be worried that what you eventually do, produce, or accomplish is not right. Well, so this can be a trap. It's a very logical sounding trap, though, right? It seems to make a lot of sense, but it's also a really easy out, and it's a great excuse for not reaching your goal or even getting started on it. So be wary of this one. Ask yourself when enough is enough with the research and the learning and the investigating and the talking and the deliberating, and ask yourself, when are you actually going to just do it? When are you actually going to take action? Because it might be that you've decided that you don't want this goal after all. Maybe you set it a long time ago, and these are stall tactics, which is perfectly okay, as long as you acknowledge that honestly, you don't want to do this anymore. How many people start college or university with one idea in mind and end up doing something completely different? Loads of people. Just be honest with yourself about whether your perfectionist tendencies are based on fear or they are simply delay tactics because you've actually changed your mind and don't want to do this goal, and maybe you're embarrassed. Maybe you've told everybody that this goal is something that you want to do, and maybe you've been talking about it for years, and maybe it's embarrassing that you've changed your mind. These are your goals. It's okay if you changed your mind. You're allowed. In the end, your success in reaching your goals depends on how passionate you really are about them in the first place. If you find you're not very passionate, then maybe the goals themselves need to be tweaked or reevaluated. And as I said before, we change. We grow, we mature, we gain experience, and our priorities change with time. The things that we place value on change. When you're a particular age, maybe getting a job is your first priority. Maybe once you have a job, getting a different place to live is your priority, or traveling is your priority. Our priorities change. Our values do change. So goal setting isn't something that you do once and stick to forever, unless the goals absolutely don't change for you. So revisit your goals on a regular basis. When I teach my Marriage Works course online, I get the couples to reevaluate their goals and their marriage goals on an annual basis. What are your goals this year? What do you want to work on this year? Because things change, values change, priorities change. Thin out your goals, revamp them, make new ones, drop ones that no longer fit. It's an ongoing exercise. Okay, so the 7 mistakes that I talked about today are meant to help you realize what might be stopping you in the pursuit of your goals. And often, as I say all the time, simple awareness of what might be going on within you can make all the difference to how you proceed. So that's the show for today, my friends. Thank you so much for listening to the Communication Diva podcast. If you want to throw a little love my way, come on over to the patreon.com/communication diva, the page there, and check it out. If you want some help with career change and getting a new job, check out our courses page at courses.communicationdiva.com. I've got a free Jumpstart Your Job Search 5-day email challenge that you can access. It's absolutely free. I've got it on my Instagram feed in the bio, Communication Diva on Instagram, and you can access that. It's 5 days of inspiration and motivation to get you towards your goal of a new job search, and that's completely free. That's there for you. So whatever I can do to help you, let me know. I'm happy to do it. I love doing it. It is my passion to help you succeed. So look after you this week. Remember that you are your best investment and you are totally worth it. Until next time, this is Jen Swanson. Take good care.